It's summertime here in Minnesota, and we all know what that means. It's time to go to the cabin. Cabin is a huge part of Minnesota summers, and we love our cabins here. But oftentimes, the cabin can be a huge source of tension and conflict within families when a loved one passes away. What I see is oftentimes mom and dad are in charge during their lifetime and they pay for the costs of the cabin. They determine who uses it when, and oftentimes they're the gatekeepers for this really treasured piece of property. But when mom and dad pass away and the family still wants to continue to enjoy this piece of property for the next generation, it's a meeting ground for cousins and a place where extended family memories are made. So there's this drive that we want to keep the cabin around for the generations to come. So something that we do frequently for clients is we help them draft a trust for their cabin so that we can set up a management structure so that people can continue to enjoy this property and commune together even after mom and dad are gone. So here's a couple of considerations to think about relating to a cabin trust. So when I think about a cabin trust, there's a couple of questions I ask people. First, who's going to be the beneficiaries of this trust? Oftentimes, it's the next generation. It's the children. They're going to co-own this cabin together as beneficiaries of the cabin trust. Who should manage the cabin trust? Who should be the trustees? Who's going to be paying the bills? Who's going to be in charge of organizing the upkeep? Who's going to be in charge of organizing who gets to use the cabin when? Who's going to fill this management role? Now, this might be all the children, or this may be a few children or one child. Sometimes there's a child that lives close by and they are a good option for management. Sometimes certain children get along and others don't, and that can be considered with the management. Another question I ask clients is, should we put money in this trust on top of the cabin? In the legal world, this is often referred to as the seed money. And the purpose of the seed money is to cover the expenses of the cabin. Having a second home means that the family is going to have expenses. They're going to have to pay for routine expenses like heating bills, if there's internet, things like that, electricity. But then there's going to be non-routine maintenance associated with this cabin, like the cabin needs a new roof, or there's a sudden thing like a water burst happens and something needs to be remodeled. So there can be different routine and non-routine expenses associated with it. And if you fund it with seed money, the nice thing about that is that money can be used to cover the expenses of the cabin, and the children don't have to reach into their individual pockets to cover the expenses. So that can be helpful because sometimes a child would like to be a part of the cabin, but they don't have the economic means to really support having a second home at this point. So that seed money can help defray conflict relating to that. So then we also have to ask questions of exit strategies, right? Nothing's ever permanent. So what happens when a child dies? Where can they pass their interest? Can it go to a spouse, or does it have to follow down to their linear descendants? What if they don't have any descendants? Where is their interest in this cabin going to pass? And we have two settings. First, default, what's going to happen if they don't do anything? And then second, do they have the option to choose who is going to receive this cabin? So by default, it's going to go to my kids. But if I want, through my own estate plan, I can give it to my spouse. Is that going to be permitted or not? Now, another thing to consider is what happens if a child wants to get out before death. They've had the cabin for a while and they're moving to Hawaii and they don't imagine that they're coming back to Minnesota anytime soon. And they just want to simplify their life and offload this asset. And what if the other children want to purchase it? So we need a get out strategy for that. So in that circumstance, sometimes we will put in like a discount price for the remaining siblings who want to purchase the child moving to Hawaii's share in this trust. So what's going to be the price of what they're going to have to pay to get that sibling's interest in the cabin? Is it going to be the assessed value? Is the cabin going to be appraised? Let's say there's 4 kids that own the cabin, so 25% of the fair market value is what they're going to have to pay, or they're going to have to pay a discounted price, 80% of what the child's share is worth. So that's another thing to consider with this. Now, finally, I also like to talk to clients and say, does this property have a shed? Do you guys have a bunch of boats or like water skis or other things that you use as part of this property that is not technically the real estate? Okay. Because oftentimes there is various boats associated with a cabin. And if that's the case, I want to know, should these tangible personal property, this household possession, or these boats that are commonly used with the cabin, should that be part of the cabin trust? And most of the time, I find that my clients do want to include that as part of the cabin trust. So that is something also that I verify that people should think about when setting up these cabin trusts. Now, if you have a cabin that is a treasured piece of property and you want to make sure it's protected for the generations to come, give us a call so we can get a plan in place that fits the needs of your family, so that when the time comes, people are able to continue to enjoy the property. Thank you.